Hey Taurus, how are we today? Just doing our weekly readings. This week we are doing the full moon shadow work readings. So it was the full moon on the first, well, here in Australia anyway. You would have to check the peak in your local area. Of course, it's going to be slightly different for everyone. But that is the super full moon in Aquarius. So you may have noticed the last few days, quite dramatic, a lot of drama going on the last few days with that super full moon. And it is going to be affecting Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius the most. So you guys probably are feeling the after effects of that currently. Now that is a sturgeon moon, so that it's named after the sturgeon fish, which is what they call a living fossil, so that it hasn't actually changed since the earliest fossil records. It is quite a big fish, about 3.5 meters long. So, like a dinosaur, crazy fish. But they are actually critically endangered these days. So, from over harvesting. Now, that's why the reason I mentioned that is because this full moon is all about abundance and harvest. All right, so it's not just about our current abundance and the things that we're harvesting for our life now, but it's actually also for future harvest, so that we're not going to have things like the sturgeon going critically endangered in the future. It's really all about feeding spirit, feeding the earth, feeding ourselves, so that the abundance that we create in our lives now, that we actually are creating that for the future as well, to help create more harvest in the future. But a strong pull this month, this full moon, for that connection to the earth as well. So even if you just wanted to send out some love and energy to Mother Earth, much appreciated this time around. And it will actually really help create that abundance within yourself if you are sort of giving back to the world around you as well. A lot of release and revelations at this full moon, but also offering that opportunity to realign to your true purpose and your true self. Okay, but yeah, dramatic conclusions. We are still in Leo season, so probably a lot of plot twists, surprises, drama. Okay, so I hope it hasn't been too hard on anyone. I am actually pre-filming this for the earth signs, just to make sure we are still in the moon energy while I'm filming. So even though it's not actually getting uploaded until the day after, we do have a 3-day cycle with the full moon. So the peak in the middle and then the day either side are both still under that influence as well. So we're just 1 day extra there with the earth sign. So I am pre-filming just to make sure we are covered by that full moon energy. But we are doing shadow work reading today. So that's sort of looking at facing the darker side of yourself, so that we can, grow as a person. And, it's all about you, your self-growth, your self-betterment for yourself. All right. As always, though, free will exists. So you're under no requirement to actually, be interested in bettering yourself. But if you are on that shadow work journey, then this reading definitely for you. All right, we'll see what comes out for everybody. I do want to let you know as well that everyone that comments on one of my videos, you will go in the draw for a free personal reading as well. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel as well, guys. But I will just take a timestamp for you so I can put us straight on over to the actual reading. But just getting started for you there, I am using firstly the Soul's Journey lesson cards for a bit of an overview there. I do also have the Red Hand lenormand today, and I also have the Hidden Truth Oracle. Okay, so just covering my bases, making sure we've got them all listed. But yeah, the Soul's Journey lesson cards, we're going to get an overview for you, Taurus. Okay, Taurus, what does Taurus need to know for their shadow work, please? Okay, one of our other signs did have this as well. I believe it may have been one of the air signs, but if you do have any other prominent signs that you want to check out, you may want to check those videos. Also, I do find with the full moon energy, your moon sign, I should say, is quite prominent for the shadow work readings as well. All right. But we do have the card of judgment. All right. So that does say, I understand that everyone has their unique path and challenges. So this is all about, I feel for majority of you Taurus that this is all about yourself and you judging yourself quite harshly, maybe comparing yourself to others. All right, so maybe it was Pisces that got that. I can't remember. I'm sorry, but if you do have another prominent sign, you may want to check that because it has come out for another sign this full moon as well. But yeah, everyone has their own unique path and challenges. So your path is going to be different to everyone else's around you. If you're not, up to the same level as somebody else, that's perfectly fine. That is your path. Their path is obviously somewhere else, on a different trajectory. So everyone has their own timelines, their own, path to walk, their own unique beauty in this world, and it's not up to you to compare yourself to any of those people and judge yourself harshly because of that, or judge others harshly because that you may be looking at others that haven't sort of crept up quite as far in their life as what you have yourself. And there's it's just sort of reminding us not to judge anyone, yourself or others included. Okay, so your path is your own, and their path is their own. All right, so don't be comparing yourself to anyone. Taurus, it's you and you alone that we're looking at today. All right. Okay, Taurus, what does Taurus need to know for their shadow work, please? Ooh, some interesting energy, Taurus, when it comes to shadow work. All right. So firstly, we do have the goat card. Okay. So this is like you butting your head up against the wall. You are like butting against stuff. You're rebelling against everything. No, not quite everything, but you're kind of it's that rebellious nature that if you're not happy with something in your life, you're like rebelling against it big time, and even rebelling against the things that you do want in your life. I feel for you, Taurus. The goat energy is quite an interesting energy because it is that rebel without a cause kind of a vibe, and it really is you, yeah. Headbutting everything, good and bad, and it's kind of like you're rebelling against everything so hard at the moment, and it's really asking you to look at that and look at things that you are trying to repel from your world, good and bad. Why exactly are you rebelling against those things? Are they things that you actually need to push away from yourself, or are they things that you may actually find that you're pushing those away because it's just a little bit too close to home for some of you there? The other thing this asks us to look at is things like obsession and addictions. Okay, the goat energy is very very similar to the devil energy in tarot. Not the literal devil, guys, but the card of the devil in the tarot set. It does talk about obsession and addiction and those sorts of things as well. So it's asking us to look at the things in our life that may actually be, crossing that line into obsession, or crossing that line into addiction. It definitely could be talking about, actual addictions as well, such as, drugs, alcohol, gambling, all those sorts of things, because now really is the time to be looking at those things within your life and working out exactly, is this where you want to go with your life? Do you want to follow this path of being addicted to that thing, being obsessed with that thing or person or whatever. You know, so it's really asking us to face ourselves quite deeply with the goat energy, all right? And stop rebelling against things, because a lot of the time the reason the rebellious stuff comes out so strong, and with this goat energy too, and like I'm talking about addiction and obsession, you may think they're totally unrelated, but a lot of the times the way that we deal with things, okay, is to rebel against things. If we're not quite comfortable with something, we will rebel against it. And a way that a lot of people rebel against things, like even if it's just society in general, is to, you know, rely on addiction type things, you know, like relying on alcohol to escape, you know, the harsh realities of society, you know. So it's really asking you to have a bit of a look at that stuff in your life, and work out exactly what that is for you, and why you're like rebelling against it so hard. I do feel that for some of you, this addiction stuff is actually eating issues. All right, so just keep that in mind, that for some of you this is eating issues when we're talking about the addiction behaviors, because you know a goat will eat absolutely everything. They'll eat tin cans. All right, so it's kind of asking us to, you know, cut out the excess. If we're doing anything to excess, it doesn't matter, even if it's a good thing, you can still do it to excess. So like exercise, you can still over exercise. All right, so it's the things that you're doing to excess. It's like you're eating everything, including all the tin cans and the kitchen sink that it came with, you know. So it's, you know, even if it's not an actual eating thing, it's kind of a you know, you're consuming as much as you possibly can at the moment, and it's actually because you're rebelling against emotion, I feel, for a lot of you. You know, and you can't push emotion away by consuming. You know, that's just a temporary stopgap, and it's going to make things worse in the long run. So it's really asking you to look at those behaviors a little bit more deeply within yourself. All right. Now, these are the two that I find very, very interesting as shadow work cards, okay, because I do have the astral card as well as the heart. Okay, so that's really interesting, because what we see here, especially when we're talking about this idea of rebellion and judging others, as we did see that judgment card there as well, you know, when it comes to the heart space, are you judging people too harshly, that you know, they don't love you enough, or they love you too much, and things like that come to mind with this, because the heart obviously is about love, and it is about, you know, your sense of love in this world, and also that rebelling against love kind of a vibe. Pardon. So it's kind of like you're trying to push love away, and you're trying to change the meaning of love for yourself by rebelling against it. So there's not really, it's not coming through like super strong, super big issue or anything like that, Taurus. It's just asking you to sort of look within your heart, um, stop pushing love away if that's something you feel as though you may be doing. It is asking you to stop judging others harshly, and to start judging them from a loving zone. So it's kind of asking you to just focus on being more loving at this time, and doing everything with love, rather than, you know, to rebel against feelings, or to you know, it's quite interesting. It is just telling us, I feel, that this, the main message I'm getting with this is just telling you to, you know, come from your heart space. You know, stop thinking things through so much, stop overthinking, but just, you know, do everything that you do at the moment, do it with love. Okay. So, you know, even just the littlest things that can be, you know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, everything is a choice to do it with love. All right. So a lot of the time we can think, oh, you know, for example, I need to go exercise. Oh, I need to exercise. But like, if you're like, oh, I'm so excited to go exercise, and like look after my body, and you know, I love my body, and I want my body to be healthy, so I'm going to exercise. So you're actually coming from a more loving zone, if that kind of makes sense. So it's doing everything that you do with love first and foremost at the moment. So whatever that means for you, it's just asking you to, really consider trying to, um, zone into some more love in your life. And I'm not talking, I don't feel it's talking about romantic love at all. I feel like it's just talking about, love for yourself, love for your body, love for, people around you, just love. Okay, all you need is love. So it's just telling you to really stop and think about how you can do things, more lovingly in your life. All right. And then we do have that astral card as well. So this is a super interesting card. It is unique to this deck. I'm actually just going to double check the booklet, all right, because it is a unique card, and when it comes to shadow work, it's going to have a very interesting meaning, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the meaning of what the book says for its traditional meaning, all right. So this is actually a joker card. They the lenormand is based on playing cards, and this is a joker, so it's like a wild card just to start with. But the subject matter of this card is that it's your higher mind, the astral plane, another world, passing through, and mental travel. All right. So when it's with other cards, which we are seeing it individually with the shadow work, but it does also have these keywords, which is attained, separate, free, open, dangerous, disembodied, wandering, and exploring. So, those modifiers are actually probably a little bit closer to the meaning when we're looking at shadow work. All right. So, but we are looking at, that mental travel kind of idea, that you're limiting yourself to the 3D. All right, is what I'm feeling with that, is that you're kind of limiting yourself to this physical body, and you're totally forgetting about this astral stuff, which is your higher self, your highest good, your spiritual intelligence, your emotional intelligence. You're really allowing yourself to be too tied in to reality at the moment. And we do see that with that judgment as well. You're too focused on the day to day, what's going on around you. You're rebelling against all these things, and the reason you're rebelling against all these things is because you're not taking this and the love on board. All right, and so that's why we have seen that heart come out as well, because your heart space comes from your soul. All right. And you, I feel, are stuck in here at the moment, Taurus. You're stuck in your head. You're stuck in the reality. You're judging yourself harshly. You're not judging yourself from your heart, from your extra senses. All right. So it's asking us to really, you know, explore that a little bit more. Explore your, spiritual self a little bit more. We do see in this card, you can kind of see it's the figure there with the glowing eyes, and then the third eye is glowing. All right. So it's asking you to open up your third eye, start looking at things, without using reality eyes. All right. Start looking at things through your heart space and through your soul space. So that's a really convoluted kind of message, Taurus, because that's going to mean different things for everyone within the collective, because we all believe different things. But if you are someone who does have a strong spiritual connection, things like Reiki, again, for third eye stuff is going to be super important for you at this time. Opening up that third eye, seeing more than with just your eyes, really actually listening to your intuition, listening to your heart and your emotions a lot more. So if you're if you are just intuitively feeling something, just go with that gut feeling. At this time, it's like it's telling you something, all right, but it's really asking you to explore this a little bit more for yourself. And and so I would suggest that something that you could actually do this, for the full moon energy while it's still sort of around, maybe do a meditation specifically based on third eye chakra. All right. So opening your third eye type meditations or stuff like that. It's really going to be super useful for you, and it's going to really help with these other things as well, and help you come from that loving zone. So we're not really seeing anything, hugely dramatic when it comes to your, shadow work. So we're not really looking too deeply. What we're actually being asked to do is to do a little bit of learning when it comes to your spiritual self and your sense of, heart space, spiritual space, soul. All right. So we're really being asked to look at our heart and soul, rather than looking at, the cut and dry, this is what's going on in my life, so it's asking us to get out of that a little bit, and stop rebelling against spirit. The universe has been trying to talk to you, Taurus, and you're rebelling against it big time. So and I think too for a lot of you, it's this judgment that's affecting that. You are scared of being judged. You're scared that, if you start looking into spiritual things, that people around you may judge you negatively for that. It's a different world these days, guys. Like, tarot and readings and spiritual awareness is such a much more common thing these days. You would be super surprised how many people have a lot of deeper beliefs that you wouldn't even guess. All right. When I first started reading like 20 years ago, I didn't tell anyone that I was reading because, I was scared of how people were going to perceive me for being interested in all this sort of stuff. Back when I was back when I was young, it was like, you know, the occult section in the library, whereas these days it's mainstream. Everyone sort of understands at least a little bit, about all this sort of thing, this spiritual side of themselves. It is more mainstream and societally acceptable these days to be interested in those sorts of things, so there's no fear of judgment. And I think the only one that's judging you about it is you, Taurus. So be open to receive, because I do feel as though, the universe really wants you to, open up to your inner world a little bit more when it comes to your soul and whatnot. So, I'd really appreciate if you guys could, try just do something small to really try to stop yourself from rebelling against your spiritual nature. All right. We all have an intuition. We all have a spiritual nature. It's different for everybody, but, accept it and deal with it. It's like I said, these days, honestly, if you don't have some sort of spiritual belief, you probably are actually in the minority these days. So there's all sorts of spiritual practices that are now quite common. Like there was, hundreds of years ago, people were burned at the stake, for being witches, and witchcraft is now actually like a mainstream thing. There's a lot of, people out there that are more than happy to talk about the craft and things like that. So, there's definitely no fear of judgment here anyway. Okay, guys? All right. So Taurus's hidden truth, please. Taurus, what is Taurus' hidden truth? Picking up some past energy here, Taurus, with the hidden truth cards. I do have the timing just wasn't right for us. All right. So this is you sort of, I feel like this is why you're really closed off to this stuff at the moment. You feel as though maybe it's not the right time, or you've had a bad experience in the past that, it's just telling me divine timing, and it's letting you know that now is the divine timing for you to be accessing that side of yourself, Taurus. The timing maybe wasn't right in the past, but this is past energy, so it is now currently the right time. All right. So it's just, that was a bit of an odd message, but here we go. We also have, I wish I had have treated you better. All right. So straight away, this talks about guilt from the past. All right. So, there's a way, Do you know what, though? This is about you. You wish you had have treated you better. There's something, and it's back to do with that judgment again. All right. So this is a way that you've judged yourself negatively in the past, and you are now actually feeling, do you know what? I wish I had have actually came at myself with a bit more love and understanding back then. Yeah. What's with your hidden truth today, Taurus? Some interesting energy there, but it's all past energy, all right? So, wishing that you had have treated yourself better in the past. Do you know what that is? The past is over and done with. We can't change that, unfortunately. You can't go back in time and treat yourself better. I've said this same thing to a few signs this time around this week. But because someone out there must have a time machine and they're just not sharing it, because we have got a lot of past energy coming back around. But treating the way that you've treated yourself in the past is an opportunity for you to choose to treat yourself better in the future. All right. So there's no point dwelling on the past and how I could have, should have, would have. What we do is we use that energy to make sure that we are doing better in the future. We're moving into that heart space in the future and, loving ourselves. So, if you had some issues with the way that you've treated yourself in the past, the best thing you can do to move on from that energy is to treat yourself, better in the future. All right. And try to, love yourself no matter what. Like, there's a reason that this spiritual energy is coming out for you and that this love energy is coming out for you, and this is probably what it's all about. It's so that you can learn how to love yourself more. All right. So there may have definitely been some self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth issues in the past, but do you know what? That's the past. You now have this opportunity to love yourself. Like, stop judging yourself so harshly, Taurus. Now is the time for you to, connect with that inner self, that inner beautiful Taurus heart of yours, and move on forward into the future. Okay. But that's what I have for you today, Taurus. If you were interested in checking out any of your other placements, I do suggest your moon sign with the full moon energy. But if this is where we leave each other, thank you for your time.